Coming up on Network Africa, Eswatini says it will repatriate criminal immigrants that were deported by the United States to their various countries. South African government unveils a possible risk of a coup d'etat in the country. Plus, Togo holds its first local elections since controversial power shift. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in southern Africa, where Eswatini has announced it would be repatriating 5 immigrants that were deported to their country by the United States. On Wednesday, the U.S. deported 5 people who it described as criminal illegal aliens to the southern African kingdom of Eswatini. On board the flight were 5 deportees from Vietnam, Jamaica, Laos, Cuba and Yemen who have been convicted of crimes ranging from child rape to murder. Eswatini becomes the latest nation to take part in the Trump administration's 3rd country deportation program. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court allowed the deportation of migrants to countries that are not their birth countries without their approval. Spokesperson for the Eswatini government, Tabile Ndluli, has clarified that the immigrants are not in Eswatini permanently, but plans are ongoing to ensure their repatriation to their various countries.
Following the circulating reports that the Kingdom of Eswatini has received 5 third country prisoners from the United States of America, the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini would like to clarify that yes, indeed, 5 prisoners arrived in the country yesterday from the United States, and would like to actually assure the nation that the engagements that went on between Eswatini and the US, they considered a lot of aspects, including security risk assessments, to ensure that the safety of Eswatini is not disturbed as the prisoners are currently being kept in the country. What we'd also like to clarify as the government of Eswatini is that these prisoners are not here permanently, but they will be repatriated in due course to their different countries, working in collaboration with the US government and the International Organization for Migration.
While the United States cuts to aid funding is affecting healthcare in Eswatini, the U.S. used to fund up to 50% of AIDS programs in the country, one of the nations with the highest HIV prevalence rates in the world at 25%. A UN AIDS new report titled AIDS Crisis and the Power to Transform documents the impact funding cuts are having around the world. UNAIDS estimates that if the world does not act, there could be an additional 6 million new HIV infections and 4 million AIDS-related deaths by 2029. The report also highlights what some countries have done to fill the gaps and how to navigate the future.
Focusing on the priority populations, which is men who have sex with men, female sex workers, as well as our vulnerable populations like our adolescent girls and young women. They are about 3 to 5 times more likely to get new HIV infections compared to their male counterparts. So we're very much worried that without the support now, the communities are going to suffer.
HIV knows no borders. We are not going to be able to generate the strategic information that is needed to inform us in terms of where are the new infections taking place, who are being infected, why are they being infected, and how many of them are getting infected. This is the kind of value that the UNAIDS bring into the HIV response.
I am going to actually miss young people coming together and sharing ideas, especially the livelihood part. And also just having a mobile clinic come nearby your home just to make your refills for PrEP and art, and also get free condoms. You see, those things really helped Eswatini a lot.
We're in South Africa now, where the minister in the presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, has revealed that the government has identified a possible risk of a coup d'etat in the country. Minister Eswatini disclosed this information during her department's budget vote in Parliament. The government has now been placed on high alert following the intelligence reports suggesting a potential military coup plot. Ms. Eswatini says the country's security cluster is monitoring the situation and has implemented preventive measures. She has also assured lawmakers and the public that the situation is under control and that the country's security is not under immediate threat despite the prevailing political tensions. Now, this announcement comes amid ongoing investigations and heightened political uncertainty in South Africa.
One of the risks is the risk of coup d'etat, to say there is a potential risk of a coup d'etat. We have identified it and we've put measures to mitigate against it. So that's why we say to South Africans, there has not been anyone attempting to do a coup in South Africa. In the last few days or in the last few weeks, there has not been anyone attempting to do a coup in South Africa. We can say that not that they are not people planning. They are, but we're continuously monitoring them and making sure that we deal with those.
Well, our correspondent in South Africa, Innocent Samosa, joins us now on the program. Innocent is in Johannesburg. Let's begin with this big headline, the minister in the presidency flagging, a possible coup risk. How seriously is this being taken by the government and the public?
Yeah, indeed, colleague. A very good evening to you and our viewers at home. This has really sparked a lot of debates among South Africans. But of course, it came at the back of that budget announcement by the SSA, South African Security Services. But of course, the budget also was not disclosed to the public, simply because she said that it's important that South Africa does not do that, because the criminals would know what we are about to procure and how much we're going to use. So therefore, they will prepare themselves in that fashion. So the question, of course, came because of the media briefing that was held by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, where he implicated the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, in the wrongdoings in that particular department, which of course we do know that he was someone who was at the center of CR17 when President Ramaphosa became president. He was one of the people at the center of Ramaphosa's campaign. So it does seem as though it implicates a lot of people, but in a way, that question came because of how they were wearing. They were wearing the regalia of soldiers, but also, many people were thinking about the leader Traore, saying that perhaps it's what they're emulating from that particular leader. But I don't think that it's something that is big in the country as yet, because we're not hearing a lot of members of parliament. They're not really talking about this issue, but it's just a question that came from journalists during a media briefing after that budget vote from the South African Security Services.
Yeah, and this announcement is coming just as the country is still grappling with the fallout from recent scandals that have involved senior officials, just like you've mentioned, the suspended police minister. Is there a sense that perhaps this coup warning might be a political smokescreen?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, and I'm saying this because I'm looking at the structures and the institutions in the country, and you're looking at the size of the country. The judiciary is still intact, parliament is still intact. The issues around legislature is still intact in the country. So for us to suggest that they can be a coup, I think it's a far-fetched thing, because the levers of parliament, everyone is following what the constitution says. In fact, there is a motion that has been proposed by the MK party of former President Jacob Zuma, the motion is a motion of no confidence against President Cyril Ramaphosa. So they want to remove him. So meaning that if they want to remove the president and take over the government, they know what to do as politicians. They know that they need to follow processes in parliament. They need to follow the constitution. So I don't think it's going to happen. Again, going back to your question, I don't think it's going to happen given that the institution are still intact and it does not look like it's something that it can work in South Africa. I don't think it's something that can really work given the structure of the country and how things are run in the country, Layo.
And with that confidence, in a sense, are there measures that, the government has taken since this announcement to be able to reassure the public and possibly also, tighten national security?
Yeah, so she did not outline some of the things that they are doing as a department, but she said that she knows that the presidency knows that there is the news of a possible coup, but she didn't actually tell us what is it that the government is doing, because they feel that if they do that, they are also talking to the people who are planning this. So hence, even the monies, the budget for state security was not disclosed during the budget vote in Parliament. So those are the reasons, I guess, they're trying to put this as confidential as they can so that those who are plotting against this, they don't know what government is planning. So she just said government and the presidency is monitoring the situation, but she didn't outline some of the things that government is doing to basically make sure that that does not happen. Layo.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Innocent Samosa, our correspondent in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Thank you, colleague.
Well, Togo is currently holding its municipality elections. It's the first since a constitutional reform which set up long-term leader for Gnassingbé to rule for life. Voters are expected to elect leaders of the country's 117 municipalities. President Gnassingbé is not formally on the ballot himself, but analysts say the poll will be a test of his popularity, with calls for widespread anti-government protests. Waves of violent demonstrations calling for Gnassingbé's resignation have swept the country in recent months. The protests follow the appointment of President Gnassingbé as the president of the Council of Ministers back in May. The powerful position was recently created through a constitutional reform in May 2024, where Togo changed from a presidential to a parliamentary system of government. At this time, Gnassingbé served as president of the nation, and this was a position that was simultaneously changed to a larger ceremonial role with a two-term limit. Keeping the peace and fostering security in the West African sub-region comes to the fore, and the acting head of peace operations of the ECOWAS, Mr. Sani Adamu, says Guinea-Bissau and Gambia have kick-started peacekeeping missions as part of operations under the ECOWAS Standby Force. Mr. Adamu made the disclosure at a validation meeting on the ECOWAS Standby Force training policy in Abuja. He noted that due to emerging security threats ravaging the region, there's a need to activate the ECOWAS Standby Force in its kinetic form to meet the needs of member states. He also called for the collaboration of ministers of finance and defense of member states in ensuring substantial injection of funds for effective kinetic operations in the region.
Yearnings and the aspirations of our member states in terms of the emerging threats of terrorism. We need to also activate the ECOWAS Standby Force in its kinetic form so that it will be able to actually fully fight terrorism. The ministers of finance as well as ministers of defense will soon have a meeting in Abuja. Like you remember the last meeting, they agreed to be able to have this meeting so that they will mobilize the required resources. To activate the ECOWAS Standby Force in its kinetic form will require substantial injection of resources. So we intend to have this meeting of ministers of finance of the region to be able to see how best the resources will be mobilized. So as soon as that is done, we'll be able now to move into the theater in terms of actually, having the ECOWAS standby force in its kinetic form to fight and to confront terrorists and terrorist activities as well.
Still to come on the program. Largest Mars rock ever found from remote region of Niger sells at $4.3 million at a U.S. auction. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Despite a recently signed peace agreement between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, fear and uncertainty still grip the eastern city of Uvira. Tensions remain high as the threat of renewed conflict with the M23 rebel group looms large. Local residents say peace still feels far away.
In Uvira, South Kivu, the mood is tense. Despite a peace deal signed just weeks ago, many fear the M23 rebel group could launch another offensive.
We are afraid that if there is no resistance, M23 could reach us here. And since this city is known for resisting, we fear there could be revenge attacks. We want our government to stay alert, to protect us, our properties, and our territory.
According to residents, both sides, the M23 and the DRC army, are still moving troops.
We already had hope, but we don't see any sign of solution, nor even a sign of the return of peace. Instead of things improving, we see both sides deploying their troops, and that puts us in a constant fear that the war will break out again. We, the displaced, already feel traumatized. We are starting to wonder where we are going to, what we are going to eat, how we are going to live.
The peace deal signed in Washington on June the 27th was brokered by the US and Qatar. It gives 30 days to set up a joint security plan, 90 days to withdraw Rwandan troops, and outlines an economic recovery plan. While the peace deal is seen as a turning point, analysts do not believe it will quickly end the fighting because the M23 rebel group says the agreement does not apply to it. The deal has also raised concerns amid accusations that it prioritizes foreign economic gains over long-term peace.
The difference between West Africa, which has been relatively quiet, I mean, there's obviously Islamic and governmental, let's say, conflicts, but in DRC, it's been M23, a Rwandan-backed group that has basically taken over the land, under which you're going to find about $24 trillion of minerals. And in desperation, starting in February, as soon as Trump came into office, Felix Tshisekedi, the president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, he realized that the South Africans leading the mission were incapable of repelling M23 from that area that they'd taken over. So what does that mean? Now Trump, especially Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, think that they can bring in U.S. companies. And the original idea was to bring in U.S. mercenaries, this famous Blackwater group with Eric Prince, who was in touch with Tshisekedi, and that they would then push the M23 out and then take the minerals. So I suspect that's still part of the agenda. I don't think they've counted, though, on...
In Kigali, Rwandan President Paul Kagame has defended the agreement, but he questioned the intentions of past peace efforts.
Kept looking at a combination of these three matters that need to be addressed: the political, the security, and the economic. While in some other people's minds, it was just economic. You want a deal, you want money, you want minerals, you want please take it. But what people had in mind is not necessarily 100% what they are getting. But in addressing any problem like this one, it's give and take. You don't get 100% what you want, because there are many parties concerned with the problem. Each one maybe gets a piece of what they wanted, another gets a piece of what they wanted, and together stability comes out of it.
The region has seen intense fighting this year, with M23 rebels seizing major towns. The United Nations has accused Rwanda of backing the group with thousands of troops, an allegation Kigali denies. Rwanda insists its military presence in eastern DR Congo is a response to the threats from the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, an armed group made up of ethnic Hutu fighters linked to the 1994 Rwandan genocide.
En fait, tunashukuru kwanza kuona si wanakuya parce que ça fait 3 jours tuko manyumba.
Former Liberian President George Weah says the passing of President Muhammadu Buhari is a great loss to not just Nigeria, but Africa. He was speaking after signing the condolence register in honor of the late President Buhari at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja. Mr. Weah described him as a true Democrat and ally who immensely contributed to the success of his administration as former Liberian president. The president also called on Nigerians to honor the legacy of President Buhari and uphold the virtues he stood for. In a bold stride towards strengthening health sector coordination and planning and delivering a stronger, more people-focused health system, Lagos State Government has commenced the implementation of the federal government's sector-wide approach initiative to improve healthcare delivery and resource management in the state. The exercise kicked off with a 4-day capacity building workshop, training and accountability to ensure that interventions are impactful.
Top health managers converge on Lagos for a training exercise organized by the Lagos State Ministry of Health in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Health and the Sector-Wide Approach Coordination Office to equip the health practitioners on the web-based operational tools for smarter health investment. The training is aimed at introducing participants to tools and frameworks such as sector-wide approach systems, annual operational planning, performance-based planning, all geared towards improving evidence-based decisions that aligns with the federal and state priorities of the health sector.
For years now, we've had a use of AOP tool as the development process. But this time around, there is a change in how we'll be developing our annual operational plans. And the in thing is to have a web-based AOP tool. So this time around is an opportunity to introduce you to the tool so that it will make life easier for everyone and it will give us shorter time to achieve our results.
It has proven our collective commitment towards enhancing the quality of health services in Nigeria and, of course, improving our health.
The Lagos State Special Advisor on Health, Dr. Kemi Oguyemi, says the training provides a strategic moment of truth for the health managers to take full ownership of ongoing reforms and prepare to cascade them effectively to frontline workers across Lagos State.
For us as a leader, I've always said that if the leaders and managers don't buy into any policy, it's not going to work at all, because you are going to now tell all the people the foot soldiers on what to do and what it's all about. But if you don't buy in, if you don't agree, accept, ask the questions in these next 4 days, it's not going to work.
Participants at this training workshop will be exposed to modules on the home health agenda, Nigeria Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative, Maternal and Neonatal Mortality Reduction Innovation Initiative, and the exercise will also serve as a platform for harmonizing local and national targets by improving maternal and child health indices and strengthening Lagos State's capacity to meet federal benchmarks in service coverage, access, and health financing.
The Duke of Sussex is following in the footsteps of his mother, Princess Diana, visiting a charity clearing landmines in Angola. Prince Harry was on a surprise visit in Angola, supporting the work of the Halo Trust, the charity that had been backed by Princess Diana on her high-profile visit to the Central African country back in 1997. Prince Harry, speaking about the continuing threats of mines to the civilian population, said children should never have to live in fear of playing outside or walking to school. Back in January 1997, Princess Diana had been photographed in Angola in what became a symbolic image of the efforts to stop the harm to civilians from landmines. She had walked on a path cleared through a minefield and had given her support to calls for an international ban on the use of landmines. The minefield where she had walked in 1997 was cleared, and the site is now a thriving community with local children attending the Princess Diana School. And finally, on the program, the largest ever Mars rock found on Earth has sold for $4.3 million at a New York auction on Wednesday. The meteorite, known as NWA 16788, weighs 24.5 kilograms and is nearly 38.1 centimeters long. Sotheby's auction house says this rock was discovered in a remote region of Niger in November 2023 and is 70% larger than the next biggest piece of Mars that has been recovered. Meteorites are the remains of rock left after an asteroid or comet passes through Earth's atmosphere. The auction house describes this meteorite, a reddish-brown rock, as unbelievably rare. Only about 400 Martian meteorites have ever been found on Earth. And that's where we end the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.